Welcome to Hitchhiker, Stories from Road. Tonight's episode is something I've been looking forward to for a long time. As they say, the story as old as time. I don't know who says that, but I'm pretty sure it's a saying. Tonight, I have my good friend Brad coming in all the way from Canada, where it is green, happy, and people don't have problems, from my understanding, and there's a lot of moose.
We have problems, and there are definitely are some moose. Sam is yet to see one, but she keeps looking every time she comes up. So,
you know, I actually hit a moose once. I was in a car that hit a moose when I was living in Maine. That was definitely something that I will never forget. But that's not what I mean. Well, I guess Hitchhiker, Stories from Road, hitting a moose. I mean, that all ties in a little bit. But let's get to the reason why Brad's here. I have known Brad in the biblical term of knowing him but not meeting him for probably over 10 years. I got to know Brad really well over the last few years. We've become good friends, and his stories always intrigued me, and that's where the idea of this show actually started, was learning from people and hearing their stories of what got them into music and why they're here and what made them the person they are today. If you've been to a Pearl Jam show, you've guaranteed seen the man in the Hawaiian shirt and said, why the hell is that man wearing that Hawaiian shirt? And why is he always smiling? And you probably also talked about the arm candy that he always brings around that looks better than him. But we're not going to talk about that quite yet. We're going to talk about Brad. So, Brad, first of all, welcome to Hitchhiker.
Good to be on the show.
It is, I think you're just as important of an interview as any of my important interviews. I am thrilled to hear your stories, and also have you
equally important
balls.
as everybody. Everyone's equal.
Is that what it is? We're going with everyone's equal.
You're the most important, tied with all my other guests.
Yeah, everyone's tied right now. I mean, the Red Sox and Rays are tied right now, and it's driving me nuts as I continue to watch. Yes, in the bottom of the 11th. But that's not what we're talking about. So listen, I'm going to get right into this real quick because this is what's important. I really thought about this question here recently. You know, all of us have reasons for why we do certain things and what, makes us do this. But I really fall in love with the idea of, like, what makes us, like, where do we start from? So I ask this question with everybody, but I'm really curious with you. Like, when did you fall in love with music?
It was at a pretty young age. Like, I remember my dad's cousin used to work in, basically, he was all the gas stations that had cassettes in them. He used to supply all those gas stations with cassettes. So he would drive around with a big van full of cassette tapes. And he was constantly on the road. And he would, every once in a while, like every 6 months or something, he would come and he'd end up staying at my dad's place with my dad and my stepmom and my two stepbrothers. And we could go out and we could each buy a cassette tape for basically what is kind of like wholesale costs. But I think back in the day it was like $5 or something. But we were each allowed to pick up one. So we would, Mike and I, Mark was 2 years older, Mike was 2 years younger, would go and crawl in the back of this van over just cases and cases of cassette tapes and just dig through and look for all the different cassettes and all the different things we could check out. And I'm sure probably the reason he charged for the cassette tapes, and not just kind of giving them out for my dad letting him stay at his place, with the fact that he had to rearrange and reorganize his van every single time. And for some reason, that was kind of like one of my earliest memories of really enjoying kind of like music on different formats. Like for me, that was cassettes. Like when I was young, I remember watching movies with my dad and seeing Grease. And one of the first the first LP I ever had was like the Grease soundtrack. And the first cassette that I ever bought was The Who, like Meaty Beaty Big and Bouncy. And I remember my Mark and Mike always seemed to have better taste. I remember Mark, one of the first ones he got was Foreigner 4, and Mike went with like Van Halen, like 1984. And I think my choice was like Raiders of the Pop Charts. I could never really decide on a band, so I would go with like a kind of a greatest hits compilation album. So I got a little bit of everything. But that's really when I really kind of felt a kind of deeper connection to music. So
do you remember, and isn't it crazy that like for me, like I can't remember what I wore 3 days ago. But I can remember those moments of like those simple things, like you're talking about going through the van and picking those cassettes, like those memories, how they like at that time they were so like irrelevant to us, right? Like I was like, oh, it's a cool
Yeah.
moment, but like how they
Yeah.
stuck with us and really like changed us and defined us to the person we are today.
Yeah, they're cool in the fact that they're so tangible. Like it's something you can like talking about. You can almost feel like you can almost open that van up again, the back doors of that van, and look in, and it was usually in the winter, and the only light we had was kind of like the interior light in the van because we didn't bring a flashlight out or anything, so we're just digging through the van, just kind of seeing what we could find. But it was, and then the only thing we had to play it on was Mark had a old recorder, just like the old school like mono recorder where you like push play and record at the same time. And we thought it was really cool to like tape stuff on the TV. That's where we listened to our cassettes from, and that was just ingrained from. That was just our first introduction to kind of being able to kind of choose and select our own music. So
That, you know, it's interesting you're talking about like the little cassette player, because I remember growing up I had now you're much older than me, even though it doesn't look that way.
much,
You're
much.
much older, by 30 years or something like that. But there was when I was younger, I had like I remember having cassettes, but I had like remember in Home Alone they had that in Home Alone 2 they had that like little like recorder thing that you recorded everyone's voice on, and like
The dictaphone.
that's whatever that's called. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe so. Yeah.
Oh, dude. So I had that, and I would go to school, and I had Rage Against the Machine, and I pressed play on it during lunch break, and I got in trouble. I had in-school suspension for playing "Killing in the Name of" at the school playground because I thought I was cool. Like I was a rebel. Like Zach was talking to me to be a rebel at school.
Yeah.
But that was a long time ago. But God, it was. I hadn't thought about like playing tapes in a really long ass time, but. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like those memories are like
Well, in the old boombox with the ghetto
oh
blasters that
oh
had
gosh,
those shitty speakers that you could like detach, and they had like the crappy little cords. So basically, it's
yeah,
still a ghetto blaster. You could just move the speakers like 6 inches. You
oh
could
yeah.
detach and move them 6 inches further away
It did
because
nothing
they had
more.
like no
Did
cord.
nothing more.
Yeah.
Like, but and then you also get the D batteries that cost
Oh yeah.
like it was for you to enjoy
And it took
that,
8 of them, and they lasted 2 hours.
and it cost you like
Yeah.
$9. So like you made sure that whatever you're listening to was worthwhile. It's so weird how things have changed. And like we had my son's practicing in the backyard with a Bluetooth speaker that's the size of my palm. That's so much better than what I had, and that damn thing will last 4 or 5 days. It's insanity.
Yeah. It is strange how differently we consume music. Like a lot of times, like growing up, and like most cars just was. I remember my dad's first van had an 8-track,
Yeah.
and like listen to stuff on the 8-track. But a lot of it was just like AM radio, and like FM was.
Yeah, I was the last time I interviewed Jimmy, we were talking about the falling in love with music and stuff, and then I always remembered going back to listening to vinyl, Dark Side of the Moon, Dad, all that stuff back in the day. But then actually there was a memory that popped in my head this past week, and you talking about 8-track that reminds me of like I had this like quintessential like right to the head like uncle that had a Camaro, had the 8-track, like had like the Kiss t-shirts with like the cut off sleeves, like
Yeah.
all the way down, and he would like I'll never forget it. Like he'd always like and it's funny because he's passed a couple of years ago. He was young too when he passed. He was like late 40s. But like he would put like he'd be like, "You ready to go?" Like I will never forget that clicking noise the 8-track would make as soon as you put it in, and he put and like Detroit Rock City would hit, and like he'd get the car rolling, and then and then we're down the road, like, and it was just I remember, and I don't know how fast we're going, but my mind was telling me we're going 100 back then. We were probably going 30, but like those memories of like music and like how it connects us to like the people that build us is like what's really magical about things.
Yeah, and also, and then the kind of like you notice kind of different like points of transition. Like another big one for me was like grade 11 or 12. I had a good friend I went to school with whose name was also Brad, but introduced me to a whole lot of music and just very different range of music, and I would play a lot of different things, and it was and it. I never really kind of pushed out of my comfort zone and went kind of to find music as much. And another good childhood friend of mine, Darren, it was like remarkable how he was able to discover music in like small town Kelowna in the 80s. Like I remember him like telling me to check out this band called like Faith No More, like back before their like it was he got Epic I think right when it came out, and Epic didn't really get big and get rolling for months after it came out. It wasn't like released and kind of like an instant hit thing, and he was kept talking about this band, and he had a lot of those. It was crazy how he was able to kind of discover kind of like the nuggets. And I don't know if I just wasn't as in tune to it, or I was just kind of more lazily consuming it, kind of like through friends and that. But yeah.
So what was
and Brad, who introduced me a lot of, it was one of the ones that kind of first took me to my first big concert. My first concert was in 1987. A Canadian hair metal band called Honeymoon Suite, who sang the track, the title song for Lethal Weapon, which is terrible.
Lethal Weapon is amazing.
But the song that goes with it, it wasn't Lethal Weapon is not known for their soundtrack.
No,
but the first big show we went to was in 1989, and I was working at the sawmill in Kelowna, and he camped out overnight for tickets for the Stones. Wow. And so I was working an overnight shift, or I would have joined him. So he kind of had that whole experience of that. And then, so a couple, like during my lunch break, I actually drove down to kind of check on him in the line, and we ended up getting tickets in like the 14th row. And so we got to go see the Stones in Vancouver, and drove down, and it was in Living Color opened up for him. I was big fan of Living Color, and I will always remember being in that arena when like Vernon Reid came out and starts off with Middleman. It was just like amazing, just like, wow, this is very different than kind of seeing kind of like shows in your hometown.
Is music as important to you today as it was when you were growing up and falling first in love with it?
I think it always is, and it connects you in different ways, and it kind of it's tidal. It ebbs and flows out, and kind of like comes in different waves, and it is. But it is weird how it's different, and how it changes, and how you kind of discover different things, and get kind of pointed in different directions, and try to explore things on your own, not only new, but just kind of like rediscovering stuff that you weren't necessarily in tune to, and like, how did I miss out on this kind of thing? So.
Well, yeah, I think we were spoiled a little bit too at the point. I mean, you know, and not just talking about the bands that came out in the 90s, but the way that music was presented to us in the 80s and 90s in a platform that was televised, that was record stores were bigger and stuff, that there was an easier platform for us, I feel, to fall in love with artists and albums. As you know, today, I mean, it's more of, I don't even think it's songs anymore. It's like clips of songs. It's like 10 or 30-second ideas of a song that's used on a TikTok or something like that. Like, you know, that it's not even the whole, it's just that. And
well, unfortunately, that's what albums, it's happened to albums as well. Yeah. Like you used to be able to get an album and consume that album as a whole entity, as opposed to just kind of one song. And like, how many of us have gone and bought an album for one song and realized that the rest of the album sucks? Like, how many of us have gone out and spent like $15 or something on a CD or cassette for one song on an album?
I did it.
It doesn't happen anymore, but
I did it many of times for Bon Jovi. Yeah, Bon Jovi did that to me quite a bunch. Bastard.
They're really not good.
No, they're not. There's a couple of songs that get you hyped.
You know,
Mr. Jovi will get you going, but then Mr. Jovi lets you down. I
laughed. There was somebody who had an article. It was like rating all the bands in the Hall of Fame from the Beatles to Bon Jovi. And saying that Bon Jovi was the worst. And he's like, name one band that exists because they were inspired by Bon Jovi.
That would be a great question for our December's top 5 greatest American bands of all time episode.
Yeah.
Because if anybody votes for Bon Jovi, I might question their sanity. But that's for another episode. No, it is interesting. But you know, as Bon Jovi says, "It's my life." That's all I know from that song. So we'll move on from this point. So what was the first artist as you're growing up, you fall in love with music that you really were like, hey, this is my band? I always feel like there's, and listen, we all have these bands that we fall in love with and then we fall out of love with, but there's always like that first band that really, I guess, drives us a little bit through our journey of music.
The first band for me was Huey Lewis. Like I just remember back, like Sports came out, and Sports, and then Four came out after that, and then Perfect World, and yeah, Huey Lewis was the shit. It was great, and it was years and years later that I was able to see him live, and he puts in a great show as well. But that was kind of one of the first bands I kind of really attached to, kind of as a tween-ish young teenager. So I didn't have the greatest taste. Like he's a good entertainer, and sure. Yeah, it was the days of like music videos, and they put out some fun music videos, and I thought Sports was a great album, and there's definitely a lot harder rockers out there that were overlooked, and a lot of good stuff that was coming out. But I, for whatever reason, just kind of attached to Huey Lewis. And obviously, my tastes have changed a little bit since then. So.
Well, the old saying, it's hip to be square. So
it is very hip to be square.
It's very hip to be square. I wasn't expecting that one. I was like, I don't know if there's, it's interesting, like learning about some of these artists that are in Canada that are more popular in Canada. Like, it's just,
Tragically Hip
is one. Yeah. Cause up until, the night Eddie talked about them, and you and me have shared some stories, and you told me off air about it a little bit. I didn't really know anything about the Tragically Hip at all. Like I knew nothing about them. But I have to listen to them. I appreciate their music. I'm hard to like I'm thick-headed when it comes to music about like if I'm gonna like a new band, like I want to be able to have an opportunity to see them. So it was kind of disappointing not that the night I couldn't see them. So I think I was more stubborn in the way of like, well, maybe I'm just not going to get that into them because I know that there'll never be an opportunity for me to see them live. So I don't know. It's it's silly on my part for say that, but that's just kind of my logic and thinking of that.
Yeah, so, they really are a remarkable band. Like it's amazing what a poet Gord is, and what he's able to be on stage, and what he kind of means to kind of everyone who loves the band and connects with the band, and what he means, and his stories about Canada, and really embracing that idea of it. And they kind of came in at a weird time. Like they kind of came in at a time when kind of like hair metal was going out, and really could have kind of been a bigger band if the direction hadn't kind of changed kind of so aggressively against hair metal to grunge. Like they were in a great sweet spot in between those at the time, but there was kind of this kind of rebellion against hair metal, which kind of drove a lot of people to grunge, and therefore they kind of got lost in that kind of like that mix and that shuffle and transition phase. But they've put out some amazing stuff, and that with lyrics that just speak so magically about Canada and being Canadian and that. So,
I think I've spoke about this, but I think one of the hardest videos I've ever watched in my entire life, musically, was that video of his last performance and him just realizing like what's going on, and him just screaming into the mic. And I just remember like you can see the reaction of the people in the audience and the band, and like everyone trying to hold it. I was like, this is just sometimes you kind of from the outside looking in, you're like, it's just like, that awkward feeling of, this is, it's a tough pill to swallow. But no, I have dug in. I enjoy what I've heard, but I haven't done like a deep dive by any means.
It's crazy, but it will never be duplicated. Like what happened on that last tour won't happen again anywhere. Like there's nobody as beloved to one country that will end up going out like that. To know that you have brain cancer, to go out on a tour, to know that's the last time you're going to see them. Like Motley Crue had 20 farewell tours?
Yeah, fucking ridiculous.
That was the last tour.
Yeah.
And we knew it.
Yeah, it's sad. It really is. Yeah, and for him to do that too shows his, appreciation and love for the fans. For him to be, take time away from his family and the other things he has to do to give back to his fans. That just speaks to the character of him and the artists that support him. So,
Yeah.
No, that's tough one to swallow for sure. Was that one of the first bands you start? Did you follow them like you do with Pearl Jam?
I had I probably saw the Hip probably dozen times ish,
Hmm.
but I don't think I saw them outside of the Pacific Northwest. I guess I saw them like in Victoria, saw them in Vancouver, saw them in Kelowna, saw them in Seattle. That was it. Like it would have been cool to see them more in the States. I was actually when Sam and I were first dating, and I was down in LA. I think they were playing a show, but there was another show on the same night that we were going to, or something else was going on. So we just kind of put it off. And Sam, I don't think we hadn't been dating long enough for me to really kind of and get her hooked on the Hip yet. So it just wasn't as much of a priority.
So, what was the first artist that you were like, I am going to hit the road hard to see this band as many times as God possibly?
That was Pearl Jam.
Really?
It was just like it kind of started back in 2003 with the fan club, and then it was the fact that I like when you could mail in for tickets, you had to do the like money orders and all that. And it was because I'd seen them like 4 or 5 times before, but every time it was just kind of like once at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until 2003 that we're like, hey, let's kind of make a trip and kind of go out and see and kind of see some shows. And my ex-wife and I saw them in Vancouver, and then the plan was to fly in and out of Vegas, but land in Vegas, kind of make our way to LA, see them. They had 2 shows in LA, see night 2 in LA, go to San Diego, come back to Vegas, and then fly home. So the plan was to see 3 shows, but we flew down there we landed in Vegas the morning of what was LA night 1 in 2003 at Irvine.
Wow.
And we got there and we kind of we landed and kind of got our car and didn't really have a plan. And we kind of looked at each other and, should we make the show? And she was like, yeah, let's go for it. So we basically just got in a car, drove to the venue, no tickets, no nothing, kind of no idea of kind of what kind of like the evening kind of had in store. And we went and pulled up, and there was just a lot of buzz around in the parking lot, because it was in Irvine, so it's kind of out of the way. So there's a big parking lot, and it's an amphitheater, so there's people kind of like tailgating. There were big lineups and just kind of started getting the buzz, just kind of wanting to go to the show. So we didn't have tickets, and so we just waited in line for tickets, and we were waiting for, it was sold out, so we were just waiting for a ticket drop. And so as we right when we got the tickets, I guess we were like 8th in line or something, and people were getting some good seats in front of us. And I think we ended up getting like row like T in the lower bowl, kind of off to the side. And then we went from there. We immediately went in, and it was the first show of the season. So their security was terrible, and it took forever to get in. They didn't have anything set up properly. So we got in right when the show was starting. And I remember just getting in and just starting to kind of go up the stairs to kind of find our seat. And I just hear like, as soon as we got up, we hear the crowd cheer. We got up to kind of where our seats are, and then they go into like Of the Girl, which is just such a great opening. And that's always kind of been one of my favorite openers. It was just kind of like everything, like overwhelming with just kind of like a whole lot of things going on, but kind of like a soft kind of like a softer introduction, where it isn't like you just go in and like you go in fighting. You just kind of like go in and you're just kind of immediately kind of like at peace and kind of relaxed, and you're just gonna kind of like let the night unfold and kind of be good, as opposed to just being this kind of like panicky, kind of like rushing in, and they're in kind of like the middle of like a faster like set, or kind of running harder or something. So and then so just enjoyed that show immensely. And then saw went the next night, that was a Saturday, which was on a Sunday, so it was a bit of a letdown. The Sunday crowd wasn't as intense, and it was a radio broadcast, so it didn't quite have the energy, but still really enjoyable. And then we went to San Diego, and then lining up, waiting in line for tickets in San Diego because we'd actually got tickets for that show to the fan club. So while we're waiting in line, I met Rick, and kind of things. My Pearl Jam world ended up opening a lot right after that. Rick was kind of like the first introduction to kind of like outside Pearl Jam people.
Is that when it went from just going to a concert to, I don't look at going to see Pearl Jam as like going to a concert anymore. It's like, it's more of a, like, and I hate to keep using the word religious, but like everyone has like different ways they look at it. It is kind of a religious experience of like, letting go, seeing, friends and family that you haven't seen in years. It is very religious. In its own sense. Is that when everything kind of changed for you right then and there?
It's an experience. It really, really kind of the end of that trip was cool and just left such a good positive impression about the whole like concert going experience and traveling, and kind of like really valid, not that we needed it validated, but really validated the reason why people travel, why people want to go around and see shows. So that really, you kind of finish seeing those 4 shows and you're like, okay, when am I going to be able to see more? And how can I kind of like go and connect with people? Like I never really went on the forums before, and kind of dipping my toe into the forums just kind of seemed a little overwhelming. And it wasn't until San Diego that I also noticed the posters. Somebody kind of explained the posters, that they do posters for every show and that. And then so I ended up just kind of like looking online and found a Pearl Jam poster, like fan poster site called Black, Red, Yellow. And that was kind of my kind of big indoctrination of kind of meeting a lot of people who have kind of like become like really, really good friends kind of like since there. That established a lot, and just kind of it was a smaller place, and we're all, I wouldn't say we were bro-ish, but it was a lot of guys. It was a lot of male energy, and it was just a lot of sarcasm and a lot of just kind of like busting each other's balls and that. But just met some amazing people through there, and then kind of got to know that kind of over like got familiar with that kind of over the rest of the summer. And then Ben Arroyo came around, and when he heard about Ben Arroyo, I called my friend Rick, who I'd met in San Diego, and said, hey, they're gonna be playing in Seattle. Like, are you interested in going? And he's like, if you get tickets, I'll make the trip. And I was just, for someone to kind of say that they would just kind of like, on just kind of a random question like that they would just, okay, I'll be there type thing was strange, but very cool. Just to kind of have a friend that's like, yeah, I just saw you a couple months ago, but if we can kind of like see like meet up again in like another month, we're in, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure this happened. So I knew I had a kind of loose ticket connection in Seattle. So I asked him to try to get me tickets because I knew it was going to be a tough ticket. So I asked him to kind of if he could get me a pair, and he said he'd try. And then I sent my dad, who lived in Kelowna, to go down to the Ticketmaster to get tickets there. And then I went to the Ticketmaster in Vancouver to make sure I kind of had all my bases covered. And then Vancouver, I go down there, and I'm the only person. It was in the basement of a department store. And I go down there, I'm the only person there. There's nobody else in line. I'm like, I wasn't sure. I'd never been there for tickets before. I wasn't sure if I was in the right place. And I was like, okay, I guess this is it. So said, yeah, 4 tickets. So boom, they pull 4 tickets right away. And there anything else? And the limit was 4. It's like, can you pull 2 more? Said, sure. Boom, pulls 2 more. Anything else? I'm like, 2 more? Boom, pulls 2 more. So I walk out of there with 8 tickets.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm feeling pretty proud of myself. And getting 8 tickets for Ben Arroyo. And then I head back. And then I find out my dad was able to get 4 tickets. And my connection came through, and he got me 2 tickets.
So you had, what was that? That's
I had 14 tickets to Ben Arroyo.
Oh my God.
With a capacity of like 2,500. So I had 2/3% of the entire inventory.
That's great.
And the really cool thing about it was I didn't sell any for profit. We got 4 in a row in Roel, and that's where myself and a friend of mine sat with Rick, and he had brought a friend, Rafi, who's become a really good friend since then as well. And I just was able to kind of spend time with both Rick and Rafi and Ohana. which was awesome. And I met another friend of mine, Brian, who I became really good friends with. And I met off Black, Red, Yellow. I found one guy who was in Vancouver, Stefan, who like I'm just like, oh, I'll help out somebody else in Vancouver, and he was on Black, Red, Yellow, so I helped him out with a pair of tickets. I did a little contest on Black, Red, Yellow, and I was still kind of new to it, and I decided to throw the instead of like telling people you're gonna hold a contest for something, and then giving them like a week's notice to kind of plan to be on at that point. I basically went on, said, I'm going to do a contest. It's in 3 hours. And then basically in 3 hours, I did my contest, whoever just kind of happened to be on at the time. But my contest was, my pockets aren't that deep that I'm just giving away tickets to Benaroya. So I'm giving away the chance to win the ability to buy 2 tickets at face value. The deal was, you had to meet me in Seattle. I wasn't sending them in advance. You met me in Seattle, exchanged money for tickets then, and that was that. And I thought it was a pretty cool contest because I was kind of looking at the lyrics. And the contest was, how many song titles appear in the lyrics of other songs?
You sometimes definitely overthink things and have these ideas.
I didn't think there was that many. I did not think there was that many.
And how many was there at that time?
At the time, that was 2003.
Yep.
So that was only up to Riot Act. I think the winner was 103.
What?
Yeah, because some of them like appear in numerous songs, like Blood appears in a couple songs.
Sure, yeah. That makes
Other
sense.
ones appear in a couple songs, and especially when you have your first album is 11 songs, predominantly like one word. So yeah, I didn't think it ended up being that way. So ended up one girl, Melissa, who lived in Boston at the time, was flying out to Seattle for a conference, and her birthday was October 22nd. So that worked out well for her. And then unfortunately, like I wasn't really super plugged into kind of a lot of other people, because a lot of good friends that came after, I like Jason, who from the Touring Fan, he wasn't he was outside the venue trying to get tickets. Never got in.
Wow.
I didn't know him. Another friend of mine, Mike, from just north of Seattle, went to line up for tickets and got shut out and didn't get tickets. And it was, yeah. And then I ended up having like a pair the night of the show. And my old boss had moved down from Vancouver to Seattle and wasn't even a huge fan. I was like, hey, you interested in going to the show tonight? And he's like, yeah, a lot of people talking about it. Might as well. So I just sold him my pair of tickets. So he ended up going to the show and he took a bellman there who I've actually become good friends with since, because he happened to be a big Pearl Jam fan. So I've kind of kept in touch with him first. So I just got a message from Sam that she didn't get tickets. Well, she should have known me earlier. She didn't. That was during her break. That was when she was kind of like busy in her LA life and didn't really get kind of like back into the fold until 2006. So she was a couple years late on that one.
I know
too.
Sam's listening. Sam, the story that's going to be interesting. Why don't you join in here when you get a chance, so we can tune this in, because I think there's a great tie-in the way that you're talking about how you meet people, and I think the story of she said I didn't get tickets. Yeah. Yeah, Sam, join in right now, because I want to talk about the how we all met. And it's interesting how you talk about this idea of like how we're all kind of around each other and we don't know it, and all these like important things, and don't realize like how we're kind of around important things. Because God, if I didn't know about the story of Brad and Sam for way before I even met you two, like it was just like the pairing. But the fact that you guys were like, I don't want to give the story away too much until Sam joins. So as soon as Sam gets on, we'll get on with her. But no, it is interesting that, and to have that show, you have 14 tickets and you're able to, provide this experience for so many people and not take advantage of them, which is huge. Because ticket scalping is at a premium, especially shows like that. We all know that.
Yeah.
It just shows the character of who you are. I mean, I think that anybody that is watching this show or is going to watch a show, this experience for so many people and not take advantage of them, which is huge. Ticket scalping
sounds like Sam trying to get in.
Sam trying to get in. I got a black screen for Sam, and I hear my echo. Shows the character of who you are. I mean, I think that anybody that is watching this show or is going to watch a show, this experience for so many people and not take advantage of them, which is huge.
Should I exit?
Oh, Sam. Sounds like Sam trying to just turn your back up. Turn your volume in the background off, and you just use your headphones to talk and listen.
Is that better?
That's way better.
Yeah, I hear you, but I don't see you, Sam.
I hear you now, though.
Sam might not want to be seen.
Oh, she might not want to be seen. Well, she can't hear us though because she took the volume down.
There you go.
So I'm waiting to see.
You're going to need to give me a few minutes.
So I'll keep talking. Sam can just piggyback for a little bit.
Turn my audio down.
But after from Benaroya in 2003, I met up with Rick and Rafe, who became amazing friends. I met Stefan from Vancouver, and I met Brian. But Stefan, so a year and a half, well, I guess almost 2 years pass after that. And when Pearl Jam announces their Canadian tour and makes some plans for some dates, and Stefan messaged me and says, "We're driving a van to the Gorge. Do you want to come along with?" And I'm like, I didn't really have a plan on how I was getting to the Gorge, and now I do. So I hopped in the van with Jason and Tack and Stefan, and I can't remember her name. Lester was there, and drawing a blank on the other girls. No, I mean that was like the inaugural trip of the touring van, and that kind of stemmed from Benaroya as well, kind of from helping Stefano do that, and then just having an amazing show there, and then coming back to Vancouver in 2005 and seeing that, and then making a plan to travel out to kind of like Ontario and to go see some more shows. Jason, Stefan, they're driving the van across the whole country. If I would have been nice. They actually asked me if I wanted to do the entire run of concerts with them, like all the way across the country, which would have been a really cool experience. But just the reality with my job didn't work out. So I was able to kind of do the first couple, miss that, and then hit a cluster in Ontario, which was like 5 shows in like 7 days or something, and then went out and met another really good friend from Black, Red, Yellow on that. I just and then Sam's trying to get dialed in with the audio. I don't know if you're dialed in with just your iPhone and don't have any other audio source, and you should be good and have your headphones in. That's probably the easiest for you.
I see her right now. I see her,
yeah.
But you're getting the audio thing situated. But I hooked them into my computer. But anytime I turn up the volume, it creates multiple audio switching up the damn. Hey, go to your audio settings, Sam, in the top right corner. Oh no, she has a Windows computer, doesn't she?
Yes.
Oh, who knows?
Well, she should be able to plug her headphone into the Windows computer, can't she?
Yeah, she has earbuds in now. Let's see.
Okay. So,
all right, go ahead. Continue your story.
I made an arrangement with somebody off Black, Red, Yellow who I'd never met before, and we just made a plan that he was driving up for the shows, and we were just going to book hotels and stay in hotels in 5 different cities, and just travel together. Never met each other, didn't know what each other looked like or anything, and I flew out there. Just like got to the hotel, met him at the hotel, and kind of had an instant bond. We've just kind of been friends ever since. And it's cool that shared interest of Pearl Jam and that kind of community and that immediate acceptance of others. And it was a pretty remarkable run from Kitchener, London, Hamilton, Montreal, and Ottawa. Was a really, really good run. I can go into more details. Are you what's going on, Sam?
Sam right now is getting screen ready. So I don't want to
Okay.
bring her over yet because she was doing makeup. So I am going to bring Sam over. Sam, can you hear us?
Live.
You can't hear us. She just whispered no. Hold on. Hold on. I got a second view of Sam now. Hold on. I'm going to. Sam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
All right. Remove that audio. Okay. Can you hear me now? Good. Yes.
Yeah,
all right.
I can hear you.
All right. Can you turn your camera landscape?
Sure.
And then I'm going to bring you right
Is that
on.
better?
Let's see. Yes.
Are you getting double audio too?
Are you hearing double audio? No, I got single audio.
I'm hearing double audio. I'm hearing an echo.
Let me go.
This is why I didn't want to do it on my iPhone.
Hold on.
I
All right.
can't really see, but
There's my beautiful wife.
I'm here. Hi.
Yeah. So
I'm getting a big time echo.
So the echo you might be hearing, because I don't hear any echo right now on my end.
Okay.
So the echo you might be hearing is if she has any of the audio up from her laptop, but if that's otherwise, it's fine.
Okay.
All right. So while she's messing
I
with
have
it.
top on mute.
Okay, you're perfect now.
All right, cool.
Okay, no more echo.
All right. So this is the reason why Sam and Brad are together, because this is where it gets interesting. I was very much a loner when it came to my early Pearl Jam shows, but I always saw Brad and Sam, especially in the early 2000s. Always saw Brad or Sam, and then as things went on, I saw them together. And the most important show that I ever did was in Charlottesville, Virginia. I had worked really hard to photograph the band. I was moving along really hardly, and as I was about to step in, I run into Brad and Sam, who at that time were trying to sell me tickets to the show. And I said, no, I'm good on tickets. And I kind of told my story a little bit. They smiled and they said, good luck. And that was the end of it. I actually camped out at a couple of shows that Sam was in the front of the line and I was kind of further back. But we never talked because I never felt at this time that I was like, I'm not cool enough to talk to them. Like, they're definitely like of the cool caliber people, and I am of the lesser schmuck edge of people. It wasn't until later on that I got to know them both. And, we realized we actually went to more shows and we were in the same areas together. And I realized the stories of people telling me how amazing both Sam and Brad are, and their kindness and their genuine kind spirit, how realistic it was. They're just great people. And the fact that I am now able to have them kind of tell their story, which I think is a magical one, of how I think this band that we all love brought them together, I think is what's important about Brad's story as a hitchhiker and giving us stories on the road, because, this band has brought us so many great things in our lives, whether it's just a release or memories. Well, this band brought together probably one of my favorite couples that I know besides me and my wife. So that is why I think this story isn't complete without having you both share how this band brought you two together.
We met in the middle of the road, across between Cupcake Royale, which I don't know if it was Cupcake Royale at the time, and Easy Street Records,
Yeah.
right in the crosswalk by our wonderful.
It was
Our wonderful mutual
honey.
friend Sharon. And we just happened to be going to the Backspace release party at Easy Street. And as we just kind of arrived and we're excited to kind of see our friends and kind of get ready for some kicking off the Backspacer tour in Seattle. We were just looking forward to kind of meeting up with a bunch of friends. And this woman just comes running across the street and jumps on Sharon and gives her a big hug. And I was like, wow, that's a good welcome. How come I didn't get one of those? And
I didn't know you.
So we just got to know each other,
I
kind
mean,
of talking a bit then, and then got to spend some more time together at the pre-parties before the shows in Seattle, and that was the first time I'd made done the Pearl Jam Ramones shirt, which Sam sports at quite a few shows and is probably my biggest supporter of, and probably has more of those shirts. Probably has more of those than
I
anybody
do love
else.
that shirt.
Yeah.
So when you
Probably.
think back to the
Yeah.
first time you met, and I'll go to you, Sam, with this one. What was your first thoughts of Brad when you first met him?
Okay. I wondered why he was wearing knee-high socks and a Hawaiian shirt. I mean, honestly, that was really it. But I'm having a little bit of I have an echo in my audio from myself.
Oh, I don't hear it. Brad, do you hear it?
Persevere.
Yeah, I hear it.
I don't think anybody else hears it, but you two.
Yeah, it's difficult. I don't know.
Oh.
Anyway, I'll try to just.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
If you can do something, it's okay.
I'm trying. I'm gonna see what I can do. Here, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Nothing on my end, but I apologize.
Sorry. I don't know if it's my own audio I'm hearing, Anthony.
Oh, really?
I put in headphones. Yeah.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe just take the headphones off. Let's just go through the audio of the iPhone. Maybe that will work the best. Let's just close it up and see if maybe that does it better for you.
Okay, I just don't know how well I'm gonna. Okay, I don't know how well I'll hear you guys. So give me a second. I'm just gonna turn you up. And
all right.
This is why my camera looks funky.
It's all good. Hey, listen, if you've ever watched this show before, I don't believe in anything being perfect. I don't believe in anything ever working correctly, and this makes it even more magical.
Oh boy, that's an audio assault.
Yeah.
Does that sound better?
No, it's looping through Sam's end some way.
No.
A lot of feedback.
I don't hear it, and no one else does. Everyone else is saying no echo.
Sorry, everybody, for 5 minutes of audio issues.
No,
it's all right. It's okay. I once again, we don't hear it on this end. I don't know how both the married couple hears it, but yeah, go ahead and tell your story. You know what you could do? You could always I don't know how you could do this, but do the best you can to salvage this, and then we'll do the best we can.
Yeah. I don't really know what's causing it, but there's just every time I say something, I'm hearing it right back to me. So if I sound weird, forgive me. Just remind me of what your question was, Anthony.
So your thoughts about Brad? Oh wait, we just lost Brad now. This is really getting. This show is turning into.
Brad.
Brad just disappeared. This is the show full of interesting theories. So, Brad's gone. Why don't you tell me the first time you met Brad and your feelings on Brad?
I mean, again, I just was like, who's this guy in the high socks? Why is he wearing knee-high socks? Which I've heard a million people ask him since I've met him. But other than that, it was, he seemed like a cool guy. I knew a lot of people who knew him, so we had a lot of friends in common. And so we just kind of got to know each other. I mean, he definitely had a presence, you know. You've seen him at shows and stuff, so he definitely has that thing. He's very social. He sees a lot of people. He's back. So it's, it was like a good vibe.
I think the one interesting thing about Brad, especially when you get to know him, and I know that you can confirm this. I mean, you married the man. Is that like the person you meet at a show is the person he always is? So,
Yeah.
and I think
for sure. I mean, it's funny. Well, I'll just say this really quick. We go to shows and people always think I'm the social person, but it's Brad. Like when we are doing things, like he always wants to be running around seeing everybody and saying hi, and he's really social and loves everybody, and yeah, that's great.
no, you guys are definitely a really good mixture of things, and I know tomorrow is a special day for you both, as you celebrate 2 years of being married. Wait, did you forget about that?
Yes. I'm horrible with dates.
Well,
I forget every date. Brad gives me grief all the time forgetting the year of his birth. And I'm always off by 1 year.
oh, it's all right. I called my wife the other day because I had to go. My son had to get a COVID test to go to a concert, and I had to put like my wife's birthday down. I'm like, hey, it's June 3rd, right? And she's like, why are you questioning it? I'm like, because for some reason, like I feel as though I'm always wrong, even though I'm right. Like I always just worry that I'm like going to be wrong about it. But no, it's great. So you've been married 2 years. Pearl Jam is what brought you together. When you look at Pearl Jam now, and this question's for both of you, and compared to what you looked at it before, because is Pearl Jam more important because of how it brought you two together as a couple, and especially husband and wife, now than it did before as just fans? I'll go to Brad first.
I think it was always it's just as important. I don't know if it's more important. Like it has a different meaning. It's not just like it's not just music. Like a lot of people think of bands, they think music, I'm going to enjoy, like I'm listening to music because it makes me happier. I'm going to see music because it makes me happier, or that. And it's not just, Pearl Jam isn't just a band anymore. It's not just a musical output anymore. It's a family. It's a camaraderie. It's a lot more than that. And we have so many amazing friends because we've chosen to kind of like see this band and follow them around. So.
How about you, Sam?
Yeah, I would agree with that it's more important per se. It's just maybe you kind of plan some things around Pearl Jam. Well, I don't know, is Pearl Jam going to be touring or so we do. It's a very big part of how we like to spend our time. But we both kind of did that before we met.
So is it perfect kind of
I
fall
was
in?
just doing it with Janet or Sharon or yeah.
So it
works. Wow.
Yeah, no, and I mean I think it's good to have someone that you can do that with, that that understands it, or appreciates it. But a lot of people like myself, my wife doesn't get it, but she understands it to let me do it. Like to have someone that's your partner that loves it as much as you do, that be able to enjoy those moments together, makes it just as makes that even more special. And I don't want to hold you up too much, Sam, but I think the one cool story is the first show that you guys went to together. You want to talk about that a little bit, Brad?
Sure.
The first
together.
one we went to.
Yeah, no, the first
together?
one we went together, which was
okay.
Sam.
Okay.
Sam had just planned to go to the two shows in Seattle and then fly home because she had a friend who had a wedding that she had to go to, and then as all Pearl Jam fans
in 2009.
are, and especially when we're on tour, we are enablers of trying to get others to go to more shows because we feel less guilty about it if more people are doing it, I guess.
It's not a bad thing.
Myself and some other friends had convinced Sam to come up to Vancouver. She could ride up with, I don't know if she could ride up with myself, maybe myself and Sharon. I don't know if Sharon kind of like
Hang on a second.
Okay.
I have to interject. It was kind of funny because I did have a good friend's wedding on Saturday, I think. And so we did 2 shows. The night after the second show, we're at T.S. McHugh's, and everyone's giving me a hard time because I'm not going to the Pearl Jam show on my birthday. They're like, Pearl Jam show on my birthday. How are you not going? I was like, well, it's a good friend of mine's wedding the next day. I don't want to miss it. I don't want an issue with the plane, the flight. So then everyone's like, you got to go, you got to go. So I'm literally on my Generation 3 iPhone, checking the flights. And oh, well, I can change my flight for like $50. And ironically, weirdly, I had just put my passport in my suitcase and I had it with me. I don't even know why I did that. I thought I was just going to be in the US. So I had my passport on me.
Wow.
So I sat there in the bar and changed the flight. So that the next day I was supposed to drive up to Vancouver with Brad and our friend Sharon, who introduced us. So anyway, I just had to say that was kind of funny.
Well, then Sam, I don't know if we were planned on the 3 of us driving up together or not, but Sharon, I don't know if this was planned before by Sharon or not, but Sharon basically bailed and said that she was staying with her cousin and which basically meant that Sam and I were going to be traveling, just the 2 of us, and then going and staying at a hotel together, just the 2 of us. And so I didn't want to be too creepy, so I just said, I asked her if she if it bothered her if I watched her when she slept.
Oh God!
just trying to break the ice a little. But before he came up for the show, like I was planning on taking Sam to the show because I had good seats. I had tickets in the 3rd row, but I was supposed to go with a good friend of mine. And my friend Danny, I called up and asked him because I'm like, I'm not just going to give away his tickets without asking him first. Mm-hmm. And I said, Danny, there's a girl that I met, and she was going to come up, and I was wondering if she can go. He's like, well, is it going to get you laid? I said, no, I just met her. I was just wanting her, like, might take her to the show. Well, if it might get you laid, then then take her. I'll find another way to go. That's Danny. It didn't. Well, it did not
get him laid.
Eventually.
I'm just making that clear right now. Eventually, I mean, if he was playing the long game.
I'm starting to work on memes for the show. That is going to be my new 10-second clip. If it gets you laid, he did not get laid. No.
And so we ended up going to the show. Had an amazing show, and then went and and then Sam.
The closest I'd ever been.
Sam had get up the next morning and head back. There's actually Sam did have a sign that said, "It's my birthday. Please play in hiding," which made it to numerous shows, but I don't think ever worked. The one thing it did work for was if you listen to the Vancouver bootleg, you can hear Ed say "Happy Birthday," which is kind of cool, right? Is they're kind of walking off off when you're on for a break.
That was nice.
So that was cool.
That was fun.
And then just seeing as it was Sam's birthday, obviously a couple weeks ago, so I managed to, for her birthday, get her a copy of the set list from that show, from the stage, which was super cool.
And this story is so much bigger when it comes to the set list. How hard Brad worked to find the set list for the first show they went to together. I heard about this for weeks. He worked so hard to get this set list. And he was so excited the conversations we had were like, I hope Sam's going to love this. I hope Sam loves it. She's going to love it. It was like this roller coaster of like, I can't wait to give it to her. And they called
the set list.
The set list, from that show. And I understand.
Oh God.
I don't know what else you guys did. We didn't talk about that. But
moving on.
but But yeah, no, that whole set list story and giving her the set list for her birthday and tying it into the first date and also the celebration of your 2-year anniversary tomorrow, and knowing you guys like I said, you're and I'm not saying this because you're on the show. I've told you this before. You're my favorite couple. I mean, I think you guys are amazing. And it sucks that this border and this disease unfortunately has kept you guys apart so much that your first 2 anniversaries have been separated.
Yeah.
I jokingly, me and Brad said the other day, I think that you should probably never celebrate your anniversaries together. It should be just a tradition that you bounce, you separate. That's it. Tomorrow's anniversary. See you guys later. But no, it's great that that you guys.
Can I?
Go ahead. No, you do whatever you want.
I was just gonna say, Anthony, sorry about the set list story. I mean, it was interesting because, I was there, and I think Brad saw a person he knew who got the set list, and so then he kind of thought, well, maybe he still has that, and maybe he'd be willing to trade for it. And I didn't know any of this was going on, and it was just so sweet because when he gave it to me, like, he's like, I got this, and it's to commemorate our first show, and it's special. And he started getting like verklempt. I'm like, honey, you can't.
Oh, I didn't just get verklempt. I cried.
Because now I'm crying, and and I was like, you can't cry because now I'm crying, and I don't even know why. Like, I don't know what this is. And then he pulled it out and shared it with me, and it was very thoughtful and very sweet, and it was so just amazing to have this thing that just commemorate this,
No, yeah, to commemorate that
so
moment.
We can't even see each other, and that was the first time Brad's been down here in like 18 months, and sorry, I still have the echo.
No, I'm sorry, Sam. We're gonna have to fix that because at some point I'm gonna have to get you on the show
It's
down
okay.
the road. We will figure this out. But no,
okay.
Yeah,
no, it was a friend of ours, Dan Clarkson, was nice enough to, and I was looking at trying to like see what he might be interested in trading or anything. And Anthony, I appreciate that you stepped up and said, look, if it's anything that he needs that you don't have and I have, I'm happy to kind of like part with that as well. I know it's just because you want the back. I know it's because you just want the backpack.
But the story I have on the backpack continues. I got.
Don't even get into that backpack.
But it was really nice to Dan, and I actually went and had a wonderful like kind of like happy hour snacks with Dan. We talked for a couple hours, and it was just a really cool experience, and just very appreciative that he was able to kind of help facilitate such a wonderful moment for Sam and I in memory. So,
and I'll just say this, like, he didn't take anything. He didn't even do the trade. As soon as he knew how much it meant to Brad, he just did it to help Brad. He didn't ask for anything in return. Like, that's what I love about the Pearl Jam community, is like, he just thought, well, if it's special to him and I know it means that much to him and probably to Sam, like, I'll do that. And I'm happy to help. Like, what a wonderful thing someone to do,
Well, listen, Sam,
really nice, really generous spirit.
No, 100%. Well, Sam, I want you to enjoy the show and not have this echo in your ear. So, first of all, I want to say once again to you both, we're going to continue with Brad. Happy anniversary to you both.
Okay.
Hopefully things work out in the future so you guys can commingle sooner than later and not have to worry about everything. So, Sam, as always, it's beautiful. It is absolutely great to see your beautiful face, and we'll be talking soon.
Aw. Okay, have a good one, you guys. I'm
All
not
right.
gonna
You just bounce off.
Bye. Say goodbye to the echo.
Bye, beautiful.
Bye. Oh. All right, now we're back to us. But before we do that, Brad, I have to do this. Now, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but we have commercials now on our show. So we're going to jump into a commercial quick and then get right back into the stories. And here we go. Take a walk down the hall.
Give me 1 sec. I'm going to change shirts.
You just told the whole audience you're changing shirts.
Oh, well, you know.
All right, well, good. You change shirts. Let's try again. Take a walk down the hall. Follow those footsteps back to Yesier, all the way back to the off-ramp. Live footsteps. Did what they had to bring you the setlist archive of Pearl Jam live statistics. It's searchable, customizable, and personalized stats so you can find what you're looking for. Find that obscure song play count, debut, its tags, intros, rarity index, and much more. Discover setlist songs and show stats, venue and location breakdowns all at your fingertips. Check out footsteps.org to satisfy all your Pearl Jam curiosities. This is the website that we use over. I am so effing clueless as to all of the connect. So, quick story, well, not to get off topic, but as it continues to add on this train wreck of an episode of consistent failures of audio and video and internet connectivity. Every time I go to Kansas City, which I've gone way too many times this year, my wife calls me within 24 hours and says, the car's broke. This is broke. That's broke. I left last Sunday and I get a phone call an hour later. Anthony, the internet's not working. What are you talking about? It's not working. It keeps cutting off. It keeps, speeding. So she had to try to fix it. It wouldn't work. I get home and we're having nothing but issues and I can't fix anything because everything's closed. So I get back from Kansas City to this consistent issue of just more stuff happening over and over again. So, of course, why would the show continue to not just follow that train of craziness, which will be fixed by tomorrow? But anyway. Thanks, Sam, for coming on. It's always good to see her and hear the story that you guys were able to share. Which brings me to my next point about, we know that you're a big Pearl Jam fan. We know the story of you and Sam now of how you all met. But the question I have now is, it's been a long time between the last time you saw Pearl Jam and the most recent time, with over 3 years. What was it like to see the band recently? For the first time in so long?
It was just better to see friends, like just to be able to catch up with friends. We actually flew to LA on the Sunday of the first weekend of Ohana and actually didn't even go to the show. We actually went to visit and spend like 4 days with very good friends of ours, because that's kind of what the whole thing's all about. So they're not Pearl Jam fans. So we just, spent 4 great days with them, just kind of up in wine country in Santa Barbara, and just kind of drinking wine and just relaxing and just kind of catching up. And then the weekend of Ohana, or then that week, and then next week we met good friends Linda and Paul, and Paul was nice enough to give us a ride down to Ohana, and we were just able to just kind of hang out beforehand. Had friends Rick and Rafi, who I met in Benaroya. They both flew in on Friday morning, so I was able just to kind of catch up with them. But it was first thing I did. I woke up at I usually work nights, so I'm not used to getting up till about like 9:30 or 10. But I was up at like 7 in the morning, and I immediately just went, because our hotel was like a mile away from the venue. So I got up at like 7 in the morning. I just couldn't get back to sleep because I just knew I had friends that were less than a mile away that I hadn't seen in too long, and I wanted to go just go say hi to them. So it was cool to go and just catch up and just see people and kind of like welcome each other back type thing, and just know that we'd be able to know that like in just a little over 12 hours we'd be able to kind of just be having this kind of like shared experience of kind of like seeing the band together. And it was pretty cool, and it was pretty magical. And as much as you like, it was great to hear it was great to hear the songs, but like some songs really kind of get you. But like as soon as I heard State of Love and Trust, I'm like, oh, I needed that, and just to be able to kind of like really kind of like let loose and kind of like jump around and just kind of get on that train and just kind of like roll with the energy kind of thing. So yeah, it was pretty cool comeback.
And I think that the 3 years off, I mean, listen, I know a lot of people gave Eddie some flack Boston and Chicago. I don't think it was anything, but I thought his voice sounded really good. I thought the band was really tight knit, and and everything looked really good on this one. So no, I think I think the band sounded really good. It gives us some hope. I mean, they added somebody, which is still kind of I'm up in the air about. I'm not sure how I feel about that quite yet, but only time will tell for sure. But
I know it's weird. Not a lot of people have talked about it. Josh is a really, really cool human being. Like, and I know, like, all the people questioning about kind of Josh coming in, kind of helping out. It's not about who he is. It's just kind of like, it's like you see someone like some like new person kind of like that's become friends with your friend, and you're like, well, what's their motive? What's their? I don't think Josh has any. Like, Josh is just loves music, and he's just kind of along for the ride, and kind of however it plays out, he's not going to try to integrate himself into somewhere. Like, he was in a band that he very easily could have with the Chili's. He played with John before John came back, and he was the backup to kind of like, he was the extra guitarist with the Chili's before John left. And then when John left, he kind of stepped in and took that spot. And when John came back, he stepped aside. So obviously he's not somebody there that's trying to take someone else's spot. Like, if he was really trying to fight and claw for a spot, he could have done that and tried to stay with the Chili's. But I think he's just, in some senses, kind of a big kid and just kind of enjoys the whole thing. I was lucky enough to talk to him at Flight to Mars. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking about some things, and he was just getting ready. It was just before a set. He was getting ready to go on stage, and he was checking in his pocket to see if he had any guitar picks on him, so he was ready for his show. And he dropped one on the ground. And when he went to pick it up, I don't know if I think I grabbed it and then just handed it back to him right away. But I didn't really look at it. So I asked him if he had kind of customized ones, or if he used normal ones. He's like, oh, I just use. He's like, I don't use customized ones. I just have like normal ones. He's like, but check this out. And his eyes got really big, and he reached in his pocket and he pulled out a guitar pick. He's like, I found this backstage, and was super excited, and showed me like a Mike McCready Temple of the Dog pick, and was just like as excited as a kid as any. And it's just, so it's a cool experience for him, and he's not going to say no, but I don't think he's someone that's in there to kind of like bully somebody else out of a spot or kind of take a spot. He's just like, if think of how many people that were like would be invited to kind of like come on stage, even like come on stage during Rockin' in the Free World. Like, anybody is just like, even without musical talents, like Johnny McEnroe's out there like banging a tambourine. It's just like anybody to be able to go on and share the same stage at the same time with Pearl Jam is not going to say no.
No, yeah, I agree with you on that one.
So, yeah.
Like, first of all, your wife says she apologizes for the crazy echo conversation, and one of our big time fans who's been around since the early days of Tap Time Live, Anthony, says it's okay. This show has audio problems before. Thank you. I appreciate that consensus of us consistently having it. It's going to get fixed. We are actually going. Big news. We are going through a massive studio upgrade within the next 2 months. So that's going to be interesting as we plan on building this out for it to be moved to Kansas City. So, which will be interesting.
I saw that Wayne Albanese had commented on my beer. I picked a beer that was very appropriate. Jenny and Adam, really, really good friends with Sam and ours from just outside of Portland in Vancouver, introduced us to DeGard, and this is from Tillamook, Oregon, on the east coast of Oregon State, appropriately enough called The Road. Oh, there we go. I'm challenged. So I thought that was a good beer to drink on the Hitchhikers. And in honor of Anthony and I'm drinking from my Strange Fellows glass.
Oh, that's right, because we went to the brewery.
Yeah. The Fellowship.
Well, look at that. And Jimmy does mention, I thought my show went smooth. Yeah,
that's just because Jimmy's not only easier on the eyes, he's easier on the ears.
Jimmy was a good one. I could have kept going. I definitely could have kept going. He's got some stories to tell for sure. And also, he is Mr. Popular. You know, the one cool thing I loved about after Ohana Fest, all these people posting the photos from seeing everybody. And I swear to God, everybody that I knew, if they didn't have a picture with Jimmy, I was shocked. Like, because it seemed like Jimmy knew everybody and was taking photos with everybody. So
And I was able to meet Amy for the first time and had a wonderful visit. She's not that I thought that Jimmy would have settled for anything less, but Amy is a wonderful, wonderful individual, and they're a great couple as well.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of great pictures. That's awesome. I'm glad I got to meet everybody and everything. So definitely cool in its own sense.
And then another cool thing, just going to piggyback off of the Sam thing with another story that is I think it's really cool, and I quite like it. So Sam and I, after her birthday show, we keep in touch. We pretty much start talking, and I think since then we've talked like every single day since that show.
That's awesome.
And we definitely have talked every day since 2 months after that show where we met in Seattle. We basically made a trip to kind of meet up. But the first time I went down to see her in LA was in January of 2010. And excuse me, when I was over at her place, I saw on her mirror she had a picture. It was of her and her friend, and so it's just stuck in the mirror. So I take a look at this picture. I notice something. So I take the picture out and I bring it to Sam, and I show her the picture. And I had my thumb kind of covering up the left-hand side of the picture from what I saw, and I'm like, "This picture is from the Gorge." She's like, "Yeah, you're right." So this is Pearl Jam at the Gorge. And she's like, "Yeah." So this is Pearl Jam at the Gorge in 2006. And she's like, "Yeah." She's kind of wondering why I know this. And I'm like, "This was night 2." And she's like, "How do you know it's night 2?" I'm like, and I took my thumb off and I said, "Look at the picture." And the only other person in the picture is me. And wow. I knew it was night 2 because I knew the shirt that I wore in night 2. I was wearing that shirt to night 2.
That is absolutely.
It had been on her mirror for 3 years before we met.
It's almost like
crazy
fate, right?
Yeah.
Man.
And then another cool kind of thing to the story is for her birthday, I got some friends to send some concert shirts, and then I donated some concert shirts to myself, and I had a quilt. My stepmom does quilting, so she did a quilt of these shirts for Sam for her birthday. And on the one side, it had a bunch of. I didn't ask her how to do it. I just kind of gave her the materials and said, kind of, you know what you're doing, kind of like do it, like work your magic type of thing. So she had cut out and put together a bunch of the t-shirts on one side of the quilt. And the stitching she did it on it was a guitar pattern. So it's like guitar shapes are stitched into the stitching of this quilt.
Wow.
And on the back side of the quilt is the Hawaiian shirt that I was wearing in the picture she had in her mirror.
You were the most.
Was cut up and put
listen,
on that,
I'm really hoping my wife's not watching.
I have my moments. I'm not like all the time,
but I'm never going to be able to hold to this. So hopefully my wife, if it was an episode, my wife, she doesn't watch the show ever. She's not my wife supports me. She's not a supporter of the show.
She's like, I've seen you before.
Yeah, she's like, that's all right. I see Brad call you every day. I can pretty much tell you everything about him too. But no, that's great. No, I mean it shows this. That's why every time I hear these stories, I'm like, God damn it! If this shouldn't be a fucking movie, like the way that it's almost like Sleepless in Seattle Part 2. I don't know. Well, listen. Today is the 10th. Before we continue any more stories, I do have to bring up what the 10th is. As we all know, it is the 10 Club newsletter. I'm going to bring that up right now and kind of break that down. Not a whole lot came out of today of the 10 Club newsletter. We talked about album anniversaries, spaced between 8 studio records and 12 years apart. This October also marks the anniversaries of the 2 iconic Pearl Jam albums. 20th anniversary of Pearl Jam's 2nd studio album, Versus, falls on Tuesday, October 19th, and the 8th anniversary of Pearl Jam's 10th studio album, Lightning Bolt, lands on October 15th. So you can learn more about those by clicking those apps. Releases, it talks about the festival bootlegs. You can out right now purchase the See Here Now Festival bootleg on the Pearl Jam website. Just go to pearljam.com, go over to the store and go over to music, and then you'll be able to get the bootleg there. And it has it for CD, digital, or you can listen to it on Nugs. For merch, all the posters are going to be dropping. I know the See Here Now poster dropped, I think, the same day as the bootleg. So I would keep an eye out this week for the posters to start dropping, as announced on the 10 Club newsletter. They talk about the indigenous people. I can't say it. Brad, help me out here.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Thank you very much. So they're talking about, in recognition of it, they're going to be honored to highlight the work of the Christmas tree, the Reciprocatory Project. So you can watch a trailer for the first series of a time for the film is available now. You can check out the trailer now by clicking the link on the app. And then also they talk about, which is really extremely sad, after 2 awesome weekends at Ohana, they are heartbroken by the highly toxic oil spill causing devastating impacts to wildlife and the marine environment. And the coastline of Orange County, that was extremely close to where See Here Now Festival was. So you can learn more about how to take action or volunteer to help clean up the oil spill, or find ways that you can support actions to clean it up. You can click the links there. Also, right now, there's going to be a signed poster raffle for oil cleanup. We're making 2 signed Ohana posters available to support the restoration cleanup efforts of Orange County oil spill. You can enter the raffle by clicking the link. And it also talks about Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. Talks about the Sir Elton John and Eddie Vedder single E-Ticket. It will be released on October 15th, available streaming everywhere. And the full-length album will feature artists like Brandy Carlisle, Stevie Nicks, and others. And that will be released on October 22nd. Matt Cameron joined 100 of the world's greatest drummers and percussionists, along with other 50 additional musicians, to participate in the largest cover of the Beatles Come Together. You can watch that video. Eddie Vedder has his Audible special coming out on October 21st, which is cleverly titled I Am Mine. And you'll be able to listen to the whole episode as it talks about art, sensitivity, masculinity, and the ascendance of the pop rock superstardom that defined an age. Jeff Ament, in the light of Indigenous People Day, Jeff Ament will join the American Indian College Fund for the first ever virtual concert to celebrate. This will be a free virtual concert which will air today at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So if you watch this, you missed it. But maybe it will stream later. Jeff Ament was on the New York Times. This was an amazing article about Jeff Ament's Montana Pool Service and the work they do for youth. And then they have the Ohana Festival recap YouTube video. You can watch that there. And they also have the set list and fan views discussions on the forums. You can click those directly. And then last but not least, they have the contest for the month where you can win a poster from all of the shows from Ohana, See Here Now, Encore 1, Encore 2. I just got to enter there. You have to be a member of the 10 Club to enter. So we go another month. We have 4 shows in the books. I didn't expect this to be a big 10 Club newsletter anyway, because they literally are off the heels of their final show. There is an oil spill going on. There's a lot going on in the country right now. I don't think this is an appropriate time for anything. I would think that the November or December newsletter will probably be the most interesting one, with confirmation of the European tour and potentially whatever else they decide to do. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. So, what are your what are your thoughts on the newsletter?
Yeah, nothing too crazy, but obviously it's good that they are able to, at a time when not a lot's going on for themselves. They obviously have a big focus on what's going on elsewhere and what they're able to kind of contribute to with the just to correct you, the Reciprocity Project. For Indigenous People Day.
I'm gonna say this real quick. I know for a fact that I cannot speak well. I don't even know why I have a show. Besides the fact that I just like to bullshit about things. I can't read a script real well. I mean, I have commercials and I have like a great script, and then I get nervous because every time they send me a big word, I'm like, son of a bitch! Like I have to try to figure this out live on air. Like, can't you make it just dumb it down for me? No, not me and big words. No, we are not friends.
Yeah. It was funny. I was looking at what reciprocity actually means, and it's like the practice of exchanging things with others for mutual benefit. especially privileges granted by one country or organization to another. It's like mutual benefit. Like we were really, both Canada and the U.S. horrible to the Indigenous people, and so I kind of wonder where the mutual benefit's coming from. But it's nice that they're coming back.
Mutual benefit. That word I could have been using
Wayne.
For a year and a half. Anyway,
Wayne,
yes.
I'll tell you a quick story about Wayne.
Yes.
So in 2006, at the time when I was in the picture, it was the night before. It was actually night one. Sorry, going back, I met Wayne in 2005. I was front row center beside him and his wife for on the rail for the Gorge in 2005. In 2006, I was like third row, and at the Gorge, the front row is only it's like 6 seats, and night one there was a big fiasco where there was a delay in ticketing and people were really slow getting in. And there was definitely some people that were just kind of like getting walked up to the front. And I know Wayne's been a fan club member for quite a while and has a really, really good number. And he was in like the second row where you can just walk up quite easily to the rail. And as the show was kind of getting ready to start, people were starting to fill in. And I'm like, Wayne, get on the rail. And he's kind of like just a nice guy. He's a big guy, but he's just really, really low key. And I'm like, get on the rail. And he's like, but he's just kind of like shrugged shoulder. I'm like, Wayne, get up there. He's like, get up there. And he finally walks up and gets on the rail. And then later on in the night, he was rewarded with harmonica. And as soon as he got that, I was like, yes. Somebody who has been around. And not that people are more deserving than anything, but Wayne's definitely been around a while. He's an amazing guy. And I was really, really glad to see him kind of get rewarded. And I kind of feel that was probably because he was a familiar face in a sea of uncertainty of a lot of other people that he probably didn't, that Ed probably didn't recognize. So it was, plus Wayne's like as tall, like probably as tall as you or taller. And so he's easy to pick out too. But it was nice to see Wayne get the harmonica after Smile at the Gorge 2006. So cheers, Wayne.
That is awesome. The amount of stories being flown out of your mouth, and I feel like we have only tapped the surface of said stories.
More stories have flown out of my mouth than monkeys out of Dana Carvey's butt.
Well, Michelle says, great stories. Hope to meet Brad and Sam at a show. I got to go to bed. Great show, Anthony. I'm glad someone is enjoying the show as this continues down its normal path of craziness. You know, maybe it's the fact that I can't drink during a show that usually I'm more drunk by the end of a show, that this sober Anthony can't handle the longer process of a show. Or it could be tiredness. Who the hell knows?
You've had a long day. What time you get up?
Oh, God. So thank God Primus was canceled yesterday. Not, I feel bad for the person who's got COVID, but thank God it canceled. I would have went and I would have had no sleep. But I left my apartment in Kansas City at about 2:45 in the morning, got to the airport right at about 4, dropped the rental car off, got through, checked through, got on the plane, landed in Atlanta, and you have 20 minutes to get to your flight. And if you've ever been to Atlanta, it's a massive airport, and the only way to get in between them is by taking a subway. And I was in Terminal A, and I needed to be in Terminal D. And the woman's like, there's a very good chance you're not making your flight. And I looked at my son, and I said, you take your athletic skills, and you hustle. And if I don't make it, you go without me. He's like, what? I'm like, just go. And I've never in my life, they got to the doors, and like, yeah, we were just about to shut the doors, and got on the plane. And there was a medical emergency. Like I didn't get sleep much in the first flight because it was a medical emergency. Someone had passed out, and they had all this commotion going on, and it's just they had to turn the lights on, and I hadn't eaten yet because I'm on a strict diet right now. And then we get on the second flight, and we're on a small Delta flight. So my knees, I'm 6'5", my knees are literally in the seat in front of me. I can't relax. The seats don't recline. The person in front of me is cannot sit still. So they're just moving back, and my knees are getting torn up. We land in Charlottesville at 11 a.m. We were supposed to go to this pumpkin patch thing and paint pumpkins, but we go there and they accidentally wrote the wrong time down. So we didn't even do that. So then we were supposed to go to a friend's house for a party. I ended up calling him. I'm like, listen, my body is telling me my ass needs to go home. I'm feeling it more than I've ever felt in my life. Like I'm feeling like, I have literally, you've known this. I mean, I've talked to you more than I've talked to anybody else. Like I have been on the run, on the road,
Yeah.
Kansas City, Jersey, working all over the place. Like, I mean, like we're leaving for Carolina this weekend for another soccer tournament. So like my body today was just like, Anthony, go the fuck home. So I went home. We went to a pumpkin patch on the way, like to get the kids pumpkins, because I felt bad that like I didn't want to like promise them pumpkins and not at least deliver that. So we went to a quick pumpkin patch. They picked up pumpkins and we bounced. And I paid a ridiculous amount of money for it because like by the pound. And of course my kids are like, "Look at this pumpkin! I can." And I'm like, whatever. But it was cool, and we got home, and my son's doing his Keep It for a Cure campaign right now, and that's been kind of put on the wayside a little bit. So we had to kind of do some stuff for that, and then. No, but it was a great trip. I got to see a lot of concerts and a lot of surprises and some stuff. But man, man, I'm this is the first time like probably in a very long time that like I had people messaging me today that was like, "Hey, can we do this?" And I'm like, "No." Like I just was like I had to like say no for the first time. I just like my body is like I'm starting to feel this like consistent and just like. Me like going through this like keto and I don't know how much weight I mean, as of last week, I'd lost 20 pounds and like that has been, and I'm doing it for the right reasons. But it's definitely like emotional and physical drain. And then also like not having sugar, beer or bread in 2 weeks. Like that's been, yeah, dude, I'm like, I am cooked, like done.
Fork.
Yeah, fork in me. I am done. I am good. But I will tell you though, like as the theme of the show, Stories from the Road, thinking about having that like this week and going to 2 shows with my son, and having him, my son's a huge fan of Rainwolf. And did I tell you the story of Brad yet?
You did tell me, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
which is super cool.
Yeah. So for anyone who's watching this, to keep up with the Hitchhiker story, my son, who plays soccer and stuff, he saw Rainwolf a couple of years ago after I saw him. And then when I went to Seattle, learned about them, saw him, big fan, told my son about it. He uses the song over and over again to like hype him up before every game. And he became like, we saw him live, became good friends with Jordan, lead singer, and they message on Instagram all the time. Well, on Tuesday, my son was like, "Dad, like Jordan just messaged me and asked me why I'm in Kansas City because he's in Kansas City." I said, "What?" And weirdly enough, like Rainwolf was in Kansas City with an artist called Rival Sons, and we were like, "Yeah, well, we got nothing else to do. It's a Tuesday. Let's go see them." And we did. And the timing, they were like in between shows. They had to drive in and drive out real quick to go to Austin City Limits. So like Jordan's like, "I can't promise I'll be able to meet you, but I'm so happy I can see you." So during the show, he like looks over at my son. And like he's always like, first, "Hey, there's a kid in this audience, I've met before," and he talks about how the song's important to him and hypes him up. Is Brady in the audience? And they turn the house lights up, and he points out Brady in the audience, and he says, "I'm gonna sing this song for you, buddy." And then he starts playing. It's like, "Well, and then he's like, "Hey, the story is, I talk to Brady online a lot, blah 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 blah," and he talks about this. He goes, "This is for you and your soccer team," and he goes into it, and my son, like even though he's wearing a mask, I can see like the dimples like on like like from the smile, the chagrin smile he has on his face, and he's so into it. And at the end, Jordan like just like he picks up the mic stand, and this is all on Facebook. Picks the mic stand and puts it right in front of Brady and goes to town on it. And my son, who when he's in Kansas City, he's training 3 hours like hard. Like I mean, they expect big things out of him, so he's working his ass off. He was drained that day. And he just gave every last ounce of like the energy he had while Rainwolf was on stage. And then when Rival Sons came on, like I had to bring him in the back to a table, and he like fell asleep on a table. But it was amazing because it's like moments like that I hope like he remembers for the rest of his life, and I'm pretty sure he will. But it's like that's what I think like being a touring fan is like having those memories with other people. Like you've had with Sam, you've had with Wayne, you've had with a million people.
Yeah.
That kind of define and shape you, like the appreciation is not so much of the music but of the memories. Like the music makes it important and awesome, But the reason why Touring Fan is so important is because of the memories that are associated with that said artist or that said poster or that said anything that brings back those things. It's just like the set list that you handed over to Sam. To everybody else that gets it, it's just a piece of paper with words on it. To you and Sam, you can look at that and it brings you back to the time that potentially was the time that you both fell in love together. So that is what a touring fan is, and that's why I've always appreciate that.
Well, it's very much like back in for me back to like 2005 and 2006. I was just rolling solo, and I'm fortunate to have had kind of good seats for a lot of the shows, and I just like to and I was lucky enough to just experience the concerts from good seats with different people at a lot of different shows, and it was, as much as I think obviously they enjoyed kind of being up close, it was really cool for me to kind of get a high off their residual energy, just that. And it's cool. And I'm just lucky enough to see a lot of shows with a lot of different people for years. And then now it's like my kind of like show buddy is Sam, and which I wasn't really sure of right away. I was like, this is really cool, and Sam's like amazing to see a show with. She's got a ton of energy, and we don't always, probably like 90% of the shows will go together, but there are some times we aren't together, or one will be on the floor and one will be in the seats or something. But yeah, Sam will make a show better. She is a lot of fun. She 2011 we were in Ottawa, and I had tickets. I'll go back to 2005. 2005, I'm in Montreal. I have tickets for in the front row for Pearl Jam at the Bell Center. And the one guy I had met, Joey, we were just hanging out because our numbers were close to each other, so we were just sitting down there talking. And we were sitting outside the Bell Center, and a scalper came and was asking, and I think just from talking to us, it just kind of found out like we had tickets in the front row. I think he was asking to upgrade or something. I said like, no, we're good. And then he's like, no, trust me, we're good. We got tickets in the front row. And as soon as he found out we had tickets in the front row, he just kept offering us money. And I think I know he got up to $2,000 for the pair that he was offering us. He's like, $2,000 right here. I'll take your pair. And neither one of us even like, not even a thought. Like, there's no way we're selling our tickets. It's just not. It's not worth it for the future concerts that we will see, and we're not jeopardizing our number or doing anything like that. So we just kind of like had a bond from that. So fast forward to 2011, I see him at the show, and he comes up to me at the pre-party. He comes up to me and says, "Hey, I got an extra ticket for tonight. Do you know anyone to go with?" And he's like, and then he kind of, as an after fact, he's like, "I won the lottery. I'm front row in front of Mike." I'm like, this is pretty cool that somebody just like wins the lottery, gets like a front row ticket, and doesn't just immediately go to try to like cash in or to kind of find anybody else. Like, he just comes and he asked me because from Montreal, there's a trust there. So he knows that I'm not going to kind of like screw him over. I'm going to be kind of honest with him. And I was like, trying to think about it. And I'm like, if he's given me this kind of like honor of kind of like finding him like somebody good to go with, I want to make sure I do him right, and find somebody. I was like thinking about it. I'm like, okay, who could? I'm like, the best person he could go with is Sam. If he's gonna offer to me, like, I got a seat in the front row, like, who should I go with? Sam will make his show better than anybody else in this building will, because I know the energy she puts out at a show. And they went, and I run like, it was actually, he'd won. The seats he got in the first row were basically directly in front of the seats that I had in the third row. So I had a bird's eye view, and I was able to watch this whole thing and just watch Sam interact with the band and Mike. And he's more of a low key guy. He just kind of like lets the show kind of like come to him more than he really kind of goes out there and kind of like tries to grab it. I think there is And I think that's one of the reasons why Pearl Jam kind of transitioned away from kind of like seniority on the rail and kind of went to the lottery on the rail and went to GA, because they want people that are there that kind of give the energy back, because from seeing enough shows, you know that whatever, the more you're able to give to the band as a fan, the more you're going to get back. So it's kind of almost, I always look at it, it's kind of like, if you're on the rail, you have a responsibility to bring the energy, because it's not just for your benefit, it's for the entire crowd's benefit, that you bring the energy and you give to the band everything that you can give, because that is just going to elevate them. And it's just, you're going to kind of like spin and work off each other. So
That's very well said.
mm-hmm.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
You know, Brad,
I just got a text, not to disparage Joey. Joey, I wasn't disparaging him. He is good, but he's like, I guess he brings energy, but when you put him against Sam, who jumps around and kind of goes kind of crazy for the show, it's hard to compete with that.
well, listen, I have a friend of mine, Daryl, who when we go to shows together, he is very much like, he's not a singer. He just and he's just as big of a fan as I am, but he also takes the band in much differently than most people do. He just wants to enjoy them. He doesn't ever take his phone out. He doesn't ever, like, he's always in the same set position.
Yeah.
And that's what he does. And I get it. I understand. That's him. And I mean, if everybody was going wild at a show, it just would feel fake. So, no, I get it. I understand what you're saying. And maybe some people don't, but no, there is different people who just taking things differently. It's kind of like that picture that I love online of like that old woman on like the rail, like that's like watching everything. Like, I guess it's like, and there's like everyone else taking photos.
Tiny,
But it's like, it's just how people take it in a little bit, but it is interesting nonetheless. But well, listen, Brad, we could go on for hours.
I barely got to 2006.
I know it. Well, between audio issues, internet issues, everything else, this could have to be a two-parter for 2022.
Yeah.
We'll have to do this maybe when I'm up in Seattle in April of next year. Maybe we'll do this in person.
That would be awesome.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
That'd be awesome.
But I do want to say that tonight's shirt, which I wear with no pleasure, even though first of all, it looks box. It's one of those Gildan shirts, so it's very boxy. But like, I swear to you, I have literally lost weight. I've done really well, but I wore the shirt. And I wore the shirt, and I'm like, came in. I'm like, oh God, Heather, I feel like I've gained everything back. But no, I mysteriously got a shirt sent to me about a month and a half ago, and I open it, and I'm like, who the fuck sent me an Elton John t-shirt? And now, just for quick reference, I have a very Elton John. I photographed him. It was not a good experience. It kind of turned me off of Elton John, and of course, Crocodile Rock in general because of that song. So, of course, Brad goes out and finds a damn Elton John shirt with Crocodile Rock on it and sends it to me and says, you have to wear this if you want to interview me. So, this is why I'm wearing this. But I will not be wearing this in April when I'm in Seattle. So, yeah. So, I think it would be great maybe... Yeah, I think, I've thought about when I come up to Seattle about doing a round table with a couple of fans up in Seattle, about this, and it'd be great to kind of do that as like maybe an open forum somewhere. So we'll talk about that. I think it'd be good to hear more of your stories, but we're also at an hour and 45 minutes of doing the show. So, and also I am done. I am cooked. And I apologize because I should be giving you more, Brad, but this has been...
No, I get it. I just want to kind of shout out to everybody. Sam's messaging that to say how awesome Joey is. I know Joey's awesome. I wasn't trying, Joey's an amazing guy. Like, not only after that show that Sam got to go to in Ottawa with Joey, a couple of years after that, when 2016, when they played, when Pearl Jam played Fenway, I bumped into Joey again. He's got an extra ticket. He's like, got an extra ticket. It was like second row, kind of like on Stone's side. And Sam Sam had a seat. It wasn't with me that night because I was on somebody else. I was with somebody else on their number because I had my number for the next night. But I had Sam had seats basically wherever the floor ended. They added on seats behind there, and she was in those seats.
Oh, you're
Fenway,
talking. You're talking about the
at
ones
Fenway.
like the ones that were there were seats looking this way, then the ends, and there were
Yeah.
seats kind of looking in, right?
She was basically probably past first base.
Correct. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And then Joey, bumping into Joey again. Joey's like, "Hey, know anyone looking for a ticket?" And I know he could easily find a multitude of people to go to the show with them and that. And called up Sam. I'm like, "Hey, guess he needs a show, buddy." So Joey to the rescue again, and he is a wonderful guy.
Well,
so I just want to say thank you for stealing my wife for a couple shows. I'm cool with it, and to all the people that I've met, kind of going to shows and kind of spending time with over the years, you fill my soul.
So I am going to ask the question that I told you I wasn't going to ask because I didn't want you to think about it. And then this is how we're going to end the show. I think this is how we're going to end all of my shows going forward because I can't come up with a crazy tagline. But you hang tight after you answer the question.
Yeah.
When you think of Pearl Jam, what does Pearl Jam mean to you today?
Today, community. It is the conglomerate of people that I have met through the band. And more than seeing the band, I look forward to seeing my friends.
I love it. Well, everyone, listen, thank you so much for tuning in to Hitchhiker Stories from the Road, part 1 of our 7-part trilogy with Brad over the next couple of years as we try to break down his stories.
A trilogy's 3. Come on, Anthony.
Listen, I was trying to be funny. You just have to ruin it for me. Well, I mean, it could be 7 trilogies. Who knows?
It could be.
That's right. But this week, we have a full-packed week. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing the final episode of this year's Destined to Remembered Unless Pearl Jam Hits the Road or Eddie Vedder Hits the Road, where myself, Randy from Live on 4 Legs, and Jesus Christ, Randy from Live on 4 Legs, and then Dave from Live Footsteps are all going to come together to talk about the 4 shows from this year, breaking down all the stats, what songs were played, what songs weren't played, albums that were played, albums that weren't played, stats from all that, and breaking down everything from it. That'll be tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here. We will have the internet issues fixed by that point. Then on Wednesday, our most popular show on this channel, Let's Talk Vinyl, which follows my buddy Trey and myself, where we drink a bottle of wine, which was my first carbs in 2.5 weeks, but I'm only drinking half a glass. Are going to be talking about the
You
bottle
say
of.
that now.
No, Brad, I swear to listen. I am telling you right now, and I promise this. Like
That half glass will bring friends. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah. I have to lose this weight. Like, you know, I'm looking at myself. Like, I was watching that video from the Shore Stock, and I looked at myself, and I was just like, that's not who I think I am, and I can't be that anymore. So yeah, I'm working like really hard, and it sucks because it's definitely like taking a toll on my body, not having sugar and carbs. But like, I have to do this to get to a point so I can get back to running. So half a glass on Wednesday, but we will be talking about oh god damn, I am not prepared. My head is in a million places. But we will be talking about 2 new songs on Friday, drinking a bottle of wine, as Trey breaks down all the stats from that. And then also we will be doing another show because last month we took a break while Trey was doing Harvest at the end of the month. So 2 episodes of Let's Talk Vinyl this month and some other things in the works. So listen, thank you for tuning in. I apologize for about half-assedness. I feel like I've definitely half-assed an episode I shouldn't have half-assed, but I am just cooked. Brad, who deserves
part
better.
of losing weight is having less of an ass. So
Well,
you just don't have as much of an ass to ass, so you have to half-ass it.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you defending that instead of shitting on me, because you could have easily just shit on me. So for more information about this show and other shows coming up, to go check out thetouringfanlive.com. Check out all of our stuff. Subscribe, like, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. I'm Anthony. That's Brad. Thank you so much for tuning in to Hitchhiker.